Welcome to the Whole Being series, Function, Mastery and Vitality. I'm of course your host, Warren Williams. We are going to continue with our Mastery series as we now focus on the single cable push. Now remember, go back to my first introduction to the Mastery series to understand the whole point of why I'm doing these videos. As I always say, there are so many videos on the internet with regards to the performance-based approaches to exercise and basically improving function through doing some of the exercises, as well as what muscles you do to work in certain exercises, but they don't all look at the execution. I always say to my clients, how many repetitions does it take to get injured? It only takes one. So it's really important that you make sure your technique is perfect, or as I say, you have a masterful display of technique. Remember, when you are training, you are not training muscles like everybody says. You are training movement patterns. Function and life doesn't care if you look good. Vanity does. But it doesn't mean you won't look good by doing these exercises. But the whole point is function and mastery and movement and life are all about movement. So we are trying to train movement patterns so that they are facilitated to the point where movements are so perfect that you don't get injured. As I always say, no one gets injured sitting at home watching TV. They may not get fit, but they don't get injured. So it's important that we throw out exercises that are dangerous and add in exercises with real balance to our function, posture and mastery. So we're going to go through the single cable push. The first thing before I get into the exercise is just to get you guys to understand there are two things when it comes to the importance of mastery, first of all, before we actually start with the actual movement phase. The first thing is understanding stabilization, or something termed the stabilization sequence, and then the force generation sequence. The stabilization sequence is such that if the TVA, which is the transverse abdominis, is activated correctly and is functional within your body, it typically activates about 50 to 80 milliseconds before any arm or leg fires. So what that means is the trunk activates first to stabilize you as you throw your arms or legs into any form of movement pattern, so that the working systems have a functional component to work off of. Remember, the core is everything except the arms and legs. So it is not just the six-pack muscle that a lot of people talk about. That means it's your axial spine, the abdominal wall, the shoulder girdle, the pelvic girdle, as well as the head. These are all part of the stabilization, or part of the core. And then the arms and legs are the appendages that need the foundation to work from. So in order for you to be able to activate an exercise, this system needs to be activated first. So the stabilization sequence, how it typically goes, is the core fires first. Then you have the pelvis that starts to activate next. Then you have the shoulder girdle that starts to get stabilized. Then you have the legs and the arms that are finally at the end stabilized. So it sequences outwardly from the center out to the periphery of the arms and legs. The force generation sequence is also generated from a specific pattern. It's generated typically from the ground. So you have the legs first, up into the pelvis, you have the core that stabilizes, and then expressed out into the arms. So you normally go feet, knees, hips, then into the pelvis, then into the trunk, and then into the arms. So that's the stabilization sequence preceding the force generation sequence. So obviously if you were throwing a punch, you would need to drive off the ground, so you're generating force from the ground into the arm, but it has to come through the trunk, which must be stabilized first. Okay, so now we've got that kind of sciencey part out of the way. The actual exercise, a few factors. When you set yourself up into the position, always start with a weight that you can do with really good technique. You want to roll your pelvis forward, and once you roll your pelvis forward, what you'll notice is you'll feel a kick in your abdominal wall, almost like you're getting pulled backwards. Once you get to that point, you know that your abdominal wall is stabilizing the load correctly. Otherwise, what happens is if you look down at my leg, you'll notice that when some people find this easy, they drive their leg down. So they're trying to stabilize from their legs rather than their trunk. The danger to this is your abdominal wall becomes weaker because the brain knows it can recruit the leg instead because you're never training the system to do things properly. So if you can push 50 pounds, your abdominals can stabilize 50 pounds, but as you start doing these exercises, because you don't understand the sequencing and the demand of the trunk, you start to use your leg by pushing it out straight. What will happen is eventually you can start pushing 100 pounds, but your abdominal wall can still only stabilize 50 pounds because you've never trained it to do so. You've never trained it to stabilize whatever load you are trying to lift. So the lift should be dependent on the ability for the trunk to stabilize that load first. So stabilization precedes force. So once you're in that position, just pull this down so you can see my wrist. What you want to do is get that shoulder into the socket, roll the hip forward, allowing that knee to bend. So I change my angle a little bit, and you look down at this ankle. Once you see that foot is quite high, the knee is almost at a 90-degree angle, and your hip is flat and your glute activated, you're now in your start or setup position. This exercise is really good as an anterior sling. An anterior sling goes from right shoulder down to left hip leg through the thoracolumbar fascia, the sheet of fascia that runs and inserts into your transverse abdominis. So you basically go from the shoulder into the lat, into the external oblique, through the belly button, down to the internal oblique, down into the psoas or hip flexor, down into the quadricep or leg, down into your leg. This is the same sequence that you would normally use when you throw a stone, and it's also the same sequence you would use whenever you're walking. All patterns should be divided into slings. So if you walk and use opposite arm and leg, it's always the same. So you have, going back a second, we have right arm and left leg. So that's a natural sling of our body. So we always want to train these systems so that we are highly functional in everyday life. So you're getting the aesthetic value, or how you look, but you're also getting the functional component, or how you move. So now finishing off, this exercise now as a demo, hip forward, engage the glute. What you want to do is set the breath. Inhale, big belly, so you're using your diaphragm. Gently pull your belly button in slightly based on the load demand. Get your elbow quite high. So your elbow's elevated and your wrist is flat. From here, you exhale as you close down. Inhale, coming back. I'll show you what my opposite arm is doing in another angle in a sec. Come back. Now the key also to make sure you're not cheating so you maintain mastery is not shifting your torso forwards to make the exercise easier. You never want to make an exercise easier, you want to make the exercise correct. If I showed you what I was doing with the opposite arm, now my right arm is still pushing, what happens is when I push, the left arm comes back to my hip. So that's all I'm doing from the opposite side. If I change angles again, you now see what I'm doing. So again, never shift forward like this because now you're using your body weight to offset that pressure so that it makes it a lot easier for you to do the exercise. Okay, so try not to lean forward, try to stay really upright and tall and push. Once you've done that, you want to always maintain that your feet or your heel stays elevated the whole time and your knees at a 90-degree angle as you stay tall. Okay, this exercise should be done equally on both sides. If you have a weaker side, always start on the weaker side and then finish by using the same amount of reps on your stronger side, so almost like you're making your stronger side no stronger than your weaker side. So let's say you could do 12 reps on your stronger side and only 8 on the weaker side. Do your weaker side and make sure your stronger side stays in line with your weaker side until you catch the weaker side up to the stronger side so you maintain muscular strength balance. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Remember to always embrace technique and remember the form principle. Never do more reps than you can do and maintain perfect form because that's when you get injured. Enjoy, have a good day, stay vital, functional, well, and whole being health.